In recent months, increasingly unusual rumors have begun circulating around Tesla, which not long ago might have seemed like the plot of a science fiction film. While the world continues to follow the development of the Tesla Optimus project, officially positioned as a universal humanoid robot for factories, logistics centers, and household tasks, the technological community is increasingly discussing the possibility of a far more ambitious direction inside the company. According to information circulating among industry analysts, former employees of major technology corporations, and sources close to robotics component supply chains, Tesla is allegedly exploring the possibility of creating a new generation of androids that would no longer look like classic robots, but almost like humans. This is not just about another version of Optimus with smoother movements or improved artificial intelligence. According to the assumptions being discussed, the potential project may involve the creation of fully humanoid next-generation androids, visually as close to humans as possible. Such devices could feature artificial skin, realistic hair, detailed facial features, movable facial expressions, next-generation artificial muscles, and an intelligent communication system based on the most advanced language models. At first glance, such an idea seems too bold even for Tesla. However, looking at the company's history and Elon Musk's personal vision, it becomes clear that many technologies that are real today were considered fantasy just 10 years ago. Electric cars were seen as a niche product, reusable rockets were called impossible, and mass-market humanoid robots were considered a distant dream. And yet today, Tesla produces millions of vehicles, SpaceX regularly launches rockets, and Optimus is already demonstrating increasingly complex actions. Therefore, it is not surprising that the very idea of more human-like androids is generating enormous interest among both investors and ordinary people, especially after artificial intelligence has made a genuine leap forward in recent years. Many experts note that for a long time the main limitation of robots was not hardware at all, but intelligence. A machine could move, carry objects, and execute commands, but it could not hold a meaningful conversation, understand context, or adapt to new conditions without additional programming. Now, this situation is beginning to change. Modern AI models are capable of sustaining long conversations, analyzing images, understanding the surrounding world, and making real-time decisions. That is why many analysts believe that the robotics industry may be on the verge of the largest leap in its entire history. If we assume that Tesla is indeed working on such a project, then the most likely platform for such an android would be Optimus itself. The company has already invested enormous resources in developing mechanics, actuators, balance systems, computer vision, and artificial intelligence components. Creating a completely new product from scratch would be too expensive and complex even for Tesla. It is far more logical to build on the existing architecture and gradually transform it into a more advanced form. Imagine a robot that is visually almost indistinguishable from a human. Its face is covered with a special synthetic material that mimics skin structure. Beneath the surface are thousands of micro-actuators responsible for emotional expression. Such an android is capable of smiling, showing surprise, and changing facial expressions depending on the context of the conversation. Its eyes contain ultra-high-resolution cameras, and its movements are so smooth that it becomes difficult for a person to determine who is in front of them, a living human or a machine. It is precisely this boundary between human and machine that is becoming one of the most widely discussed topics among futurists. Some experts believe that humanity is already approaching a point where it will become virtually impossible to distinguish a human from an artificial android without special verification. Especially interesting is the question of integrating such a device with future versions of the Grok artificial intelligence. Already today, many specialists describe AI as the core component of future robotics. The mechanical body becomes merely a tool, while the real product is the intelligence capable of interacting with the physical world. Let us assume that in a few years, Tesla releases a next-generation android. The user wakes up in the morning, and the robot already knows the day's schedule. It reminds them of meetings, analyzes the news, helps prepare breakfast, monitors the condition of the home, answers phone calls, and can hold a full conversation on virtually any topic. Unlike modern voice assistants, this intelligence has a physical body. It can open doors, bring objects, help an elderly person climb stairs, or accompany a child during a walk. This is where things become truly interesting. If Optimus is primarily designed as workforce for industrial and household tasks, then a new class of androids could take on a completely different role. They could become full-fledged digital assistants, companions, and universal interfaces between humans and artificial intelligence. Some analysts compare the possible emergence of such androids to the release of the first iPhone. Before smartphones, mobile phones already existed, but it was the iPhone that changed the way people understood what a future device should be. In a similar way, the first mass-market androids could change humanity's perception of robots. However, alongside enormous opportunities come serious questions. If such devices are truly indistinguishable from humans, where should the boundary between human and machine be drawn? Should they carry visible markers? Should the law limit how closely they can resemble humans? How can such technology be prevented from being used for fraud or manipulation? Regulators in many countries are already beginning to discuss such scenarios. For now, the focus is mainly on neural networks and digital assistants, but experts increasingly talk about the need to prepare legislation for the era of humanoid androids. Security is another major concern. Imagine a device costing tens of thousands of dollars that has intelligence comparable to a personal assistant, internet access, the ability to move around a home and interact with the physical environment. Any software error, security failure, or hacking attempt could have far more serious consequences than in the case of a regular smartphone. That is why many specialists believe Tesla, if such a project exists, would place enormous emphasis on safety. Such robots would likely include multi-layered control systems, continuous monitoring of AI behavior, and the ability to be remotely shut down in emergency situations. Cost is another important factor. Even today, humanoid robots remain extremely expensive devices. However, Tesla's history shows that the company often focuses on scaling production. Electric cars were once considered toys for wealthy enthusiasts, yet today, Tesla produces millions of vehicles. If a similar development path is assumed for robotics, the first humanoid androids could cost between $50,000 and $100,000, remaining in the premium segment. Over time, however, costs could gradually decrease as production scales. Some futurists believe that within 10 to 15 years, a basic home android could become as common a purchase as a car today. It is precisely this scenario that leads many experts to speak about the beginning of a new technological era in which artificial intelligence will no longer exist exclusively inside the screens of computers and smartphones. It will gain a physical body, will be able to interact with the world directly, and will become part of the everyday lives of billions of people. And if such rumors around Tesla are at least partially true, we may be witnessing the very first steps toward a future that not long ago seemed impossible. A future in which not just robots, but fully developed next-generation androids will live alongside humans, capable of transforming the labor market, economy, education, medicine, and humanity's very understanding of technology. And the more this potential development is discussed, the more experts begin to focus on one detail that previously remained in the background. Tesla has never hidden that it sees robots as a product that could eventually become an even more important business than automobiles. A few years ago, such statements were seen as bold predictions by Elon Musk. But today, the situation looks very different. The company already has its own advances in artificial intelligence, its own supercomputers for training neural networks, vast experience in building electric motors, batteries, sensors, computer vision systems, and autonomous control. In essence, Tesla is gradually assembling all the key components needed to create a full-fledged future android. Many analysts believe that the most difficult element of such a project will not be mechanics or artificial intelligence, but human appearance itself. It is difficult to build a robot that can walk, grasp objects, and execute commands. But it is even harder to create a machine that looks so natural that a human begins to perceive it as a living being. According to robotics specialists, This will require an entirely new generation of synthetic materials. Artificial skin must not only look realistic, but also be capable of stretching, maintaining temperature, transmitting tactile information, and even self-diagnosing damage. Research into so-called electronic skin is already underway in university laboratories around the world, involving materials containing thousands of microscopic sensors. Such surfaces can detect touch, pressure, and temperature. If such technologies are integrated into future androids, the robot will literally be able to sense the surrounding world. It will understand how strongly it is holding a cup, feel a human touch, and adjust its actions accordingly. Equally interesting is the question of artificial hair. At first glance, this may seem like a secondary detail, yet it is precisely these elements that shape human perception. According to rumors discussed among industry specialists, future humanoid androids may feature a modular appearance system. A user could choose hair color, facial features, skin tone, height, and even the behavioral style of their digital assistant. In effect, this could create an entirely new market for personalized androids. Just as people today choose a car by configuration, in the future, they could select their own robot based on appearance, capabilities, and intelligent functions. Particular attention is drawn to the topic of so-called robot girls. It is around this direction that the most rumors and debates arise. Many experts believe that if a home android market truly emerges, manufacturers will inevitably aim to create designs that are as friendly and comfortable for interaction as possible. The history of technology shows that people interact more easily with systems that look familiar and inspire trust. Therefore, it is not impossible that the first commercial next-generation androids will have soft features, natural facial expressions, calm voices, and highly human-like behavior. The main purpose of such a device would not be to replace humans, but to make interaction with artificial intelligence more natural. Imagine an ordinary evening 10 years from now. You return home from work. The door opens automatically. The android already knows you were delayed by traffic. It informs you of the latest news, reminds you of scheduled meetings for tomorrow, and suggests dinner options based on the contents of your refrigerator and your preferences. While you rest, the robot helps around the house, responds to messages, organizes documents, and manages the building's smart systems. It is precisely this scenario that many futurists consider the most likely direction for the industry's development. It is not about a distant future 50 years away, but about a horizon of the next 10 to 15 years. But the more realistic such forecasts become, the more often the question arises, can such machines replace humans? This remains one of the most controversial questions. On the one hand, androids are capable of performing a vast number of tasks without fatigue, without vacations, and without the need for constant retraining. On the other hand, most specialists believe that full replacement of humans remains highly unlikely. More likely, humanity will face a different scenario. Robots will take over a large number of routine responsibilities, freeing up time for humans to focus on creativity, management, science, and other fields of activity. A similar process already occurred during the Industrial Revolution and the computerization of the economy. However, the speed of change may be unprecedented. Some analysts suggest that the mass adoption of humanoid robots could trigger the largest transformation of the labor market in the past 100 years, especially in logistics, services, hospitality, security, warehousing, and administrative work. This is why governments around the world are already closely monitoring the development of robotics. Many politicians are beginning to realize that the emergence of millions of intelligent androids could change not only the economy, but also the structure of society itself. Equally serious is the question of psychological perception of such devices. If a robot looks almost like a human, is capable of conversation, remembers details of interactions, and demonstrates emotional responses, how will relationships between humans and machines be formed? Some researchers believe that humanity may face entirely new social phenomena. Some people will perceive androids strictly as tools. Others will begin to treat them as full digital companions. Even today, many users spend hours communicating with artificial intelligence through apps and voice assistants. What will happen when this intelligence gains a physical body and is constantly present nearby? This question is causing intense debate among psychologists, philosophers, and experts in technology ethics. Some see this development as a natural stage of technological evolution. Others warn about potential consequences for human social bonds. At the same time, supporters of robotics point to the enormous potential of such systems in medicine and elderly care. In many countries, populations are rapidly aging. The number of people requiring constant assistance is growing much faster than the number of social care workers. Intelligent androids could partially solve this problem by providing round-the-clock support, health monitoring, and assistance in daily life. This could be especially important for countries in Europe, Japan, South Korea, and China, where demographic change is already becoming a serious economic challenge. Some experts suggest that elderly care may become the first truly mass-market application for humanoid androids, after which the technology will gradually expand into other areas of life. As for timelines, most realistic forecasts suggest that the first truly advanced androids could begin closed testing by the end of this decade. Initially, these will be extremely expensive, limited production devices. Then a gradual reduction in cost and expansion of capabilities will follow. And if artificial intelligence continues to develop at its current pace, by the mid-2030s the world may see an entirely new category of technology. Not a smartphone, not a car, not a computer, but an intelligent android capable of living alongside humans and performing a vast range of everyday tasks. That is precisely why any rumors related to possible Tesla developments in this field generate such enormous interest. Because this is not just about a new gadget or another technological product. It may be about the beginning of an era that will permanently change the way humans interact with artificial intelligence. But there is another aspect that is being discussed more and more often, and it is precisely this that makes investors closely follow any news around Tesla, xAI, and future versions of Grok. Many analysts believe that the real breakthrough will not happen when another robot appears with more powerful motors or more realistic skin. The real breakthrough will occur at the moment when the artificial intelligence inside such an android begins to be perceived by humans as a full-fledged conversational partner. Imagine a situation where a robot does not just answer questions, but remembers years of interaction with its owner. It knows your habits, preferences, favorite movies, favorite music, personality traits, and communication style. It can adapt its behavior to a specific person, understand mood from facial expressions and tone of voice, and anticipate needs even before they are expressed. This is where many experts begin drawing parallels between future androids and smartphones of the early 2000s. At that time, most people saw phones as devices for calls and messages. No one could have imagined that within a few years the smartphone would become the center of digital life for billions of people. Similarly, today most people perceive robots as machines for performing mechanical work. However, in 10 or 15 years, the situation may look completely different. If such projects truly exist inside Tesla, even at the level of long-term research, then the company is effectively preparing to enter a market that does not yet exist, the market of personal intelligent androids. And that is why some investors call robotics potentially the largest long-term business direction for Tesla. It is also interesting that the emergence of such devices could trigger a chain reaction among other technology giants. If Tesla presents the first truly successful humanoid android, competitors are unlikely to stay on the sidelines. Many analysts predict the beginning of a new technological race involving the world's largest companies. Each of them will strive to create its own intelligent assistant with a physical body, its own ecosystem, and unique capabilities. As a result, humanity may find itself in a situation where within 1 or 2 decades, humanoid robots become as familiar as cars, laptops, or smartphones today. At first, they will be available only to the wealthiest buyers. Then, more affordable models will appear, specialized versions for business, medicine, education, and home use. Later, entire generations will perceive the presence of androids around them as something completely ordinary. Of course, for now, all of this remains only the subject of discussions, forecasts, and numerous rumors. Officially, Tesla continues to focus on the development of Optimus, and does not confirm the existence of any projects involving highly realistic humanoids with human-like appearance. However, the history of the technology industry shows an interesting pattern. Very often, the most incredible ideas first seem like fantasy, then become rumors, then turn into prototypes, and after a few years, unexpectedly become part of everyday life. And if even a part of the current discussions about future humanoid androids at Tesla turns out to be true, then it is entirely possible that right now, somewhere behind closed doors in research centers, work is already beginning on a technology that in the future may change the world no less than the internet, smartphones, and artificial intelligence once did.